Tom's not here today, so I'm standing in for him. Does anybody have any business that they'd like to bring up this time? They want to share with the group or anything? So Martin Evans, the door is locked. Well, could you grab the door? Martin Evans is going to do a presentation today on the trip to the Galapagos Islands. So he'll be our speaker this morning. I guess that's kind of all I have at this point. If you're ready to do it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I do. Share. I can't. What I do now here? How do I get back to the? Okay. Good. Okay, good morning, everybody. Anybody been to the Galapagos? Couple? Yep. I was asked to speak on the Galapagos, and certainly the slides and so forth are on the Galapagos, but the trip that we made was a stumble into it. My wife's brother lived in Quito, and so we went to Quito first, and I think a lot of trips do that. And if I could leave you with any message before we start, it's sort of like when you go to Hawaii, people say, "Oh, I went to Hawaii." Okay, what island? I went to Maui. Oh, okay. And the Galapagos is like that. And if you think you want to go, do your homework, which we did not. And the reason we didn't was because I signed up with a lady that I knew, having gone to the Azores with her. She was a good photographer. The timing was right. My wife's brother lived in Quito, and I thought that all is going to work very well. Her brother was in bad health, and the story goes that we went on this trip. We went to Quito. We went to the Galapagos. We came back and visited her brother. We left, and we knew he was in bad health, but the week after we left, he went to sleep and didn't wake up. And so it was good that the timing was what it was, and we got to spend some time with him before he died. So that was strange as it is, but the way that the trip was. So the trip, the slides and so forth are somewhat Galapagos and somewhat Quito, but you'll see what we have to offer. Ecuador has four regions: the coast, the highlands, the Amazons, and the Galapagos. the Galapagos are part of Ecuador, and as you can see, no pointer, no. You can see that the Galapagos are here, these little dots off the coast of Ecuador. It's 600 miles off the coast, and both are on the equator. And there's some uniqueness about being on the equator, and I'll show you some of that as we go through. People don't get the geography very well, but obviously Ecuador is on the equator, as is the islands of the Galapagos. It's south of Caracas, it's south of Costa Rica, Mexico City, and all the rest. And it's a somewhat unique environment. The Galapagos Islands themselves, there are a lot more than you think. I thought, there are a couple of islands and they're sort of unique, each one. Well, that's wrong, because these are the Galapagos Islands, and each one has its own unique animals, its own unique structure, its own unique. I mean, every one of them different, and each one of them, for example, Isabella has volcanoes, penguins, cormorants that don't fly, and marine iguanas. They have some iguanas in Ferdinand and blue-footed boobies and albatross birds. Each one of them has something different. So if you've been to the Galapagos, that's great, but which island did you go to, and how much time did you spend, and did you know where the hell you were when you were there? No. The people that I went with, the lady that I went with to the Azores is German. She speaks German and French and Spanish and English and a couple of other languages. And she's a very good photographer. The guy that she went with to the Galapagos, it lives in Naples or Venice, Florida, and they have a group of people that basically socialize together and occasionally take some pictures. So it's two different groups. I didn't figure that out until afterwards, but it was an interesting trip nonetheless. Our trip was a trip to Quito, a trip to the cloud forest, and a trip to the Galapagos, all in one. Ecuador is sort of unusual because it returned to democracy in '79. 4% of its GDP, or gross national product, is from oil, which I did not know. It's the second or third largest producer of roses. And I'll show you some of that that's truly overwhelming that you don't really figure out until you're there. Exports 4 to 5 million roses per day. And yes. Well, that's what I was saying, that the lady I went with was a photographer, and the other group was sort of a social, and we all went together. Yes, you're welcome. Quito and Guayaquil have 2.7 million people each. Guayaquil, 70% of the world's cocaine goes through there. They're not really proud of that, but that's the fact. And Quito at 9,500 feet is the world's highest capital city. My wife generally gets altitude sickness when we go, and like I said, her brother lived there, and we had been there several times. 91% Catholic. Because it sits on the equator, there's a marker for where the equator is, but it's off by several hundred yards. And it's this big statue, and you can go there and put 1 foot on north of the equator and 1 foot south of the equator, sort of neat. Quito itself is sort of a strange city because they don't have air conditioning in much of any place at 9,000 or 9,500 feet. And on the equator, the sun is very hot, but because it's in the altitude that it is, there's not much air conditioning is around. We made a trip to Cotopaxi. Cotopaxi's, they make, there's a clothing line that they have now that's Cotopaxi, and I figured that out afterwards. I've heard that name before. Oh, I went to Cotopaxi. Okay. Cotopaxi is at 19,000 feet. We went to the bottom of the mountain. We didn't go to the top. But the interesting thing is we drove into the national park. And in the national park, let's see if this works. I don't know if that. In the national park, there's sound with this. Let's see. See if I can start this. So we drive into the national park, and this lady gets in our car. And I'll turn this off. The lady gets in the car with us. And what are you doing here? And the lady said, oh, no, you got to have a guide because we've got to pray to the gods of Cotopaxi so that you can get in. Okay. So she gets in and starts this routine of the singing, and I don't know what the hell is going on, and it is freaky. It's very, very strange. And she has this outfit on. And we stop at halfway up, and the base of the mountain is at something like 12,000 feet. And the top is at 19. And she keeps asking, short of breath, you got okay? Yeah, we're fine. But it was high. It was very high. And the singing going on with this, we're in a little tiny car, and she's got this outfit. Yeah, strange. These are the government offices in Quito, the capital of Ecuador. It has churches all over the place. I did not know this habit. Does anybody know what this is? This is apparently, if you're bad, then you get to wear these outfits and you repent it's some primitive form of Catholicism, and you get to wear these Ku Klux Klan type outfits. But they had people wearing these, and I said, "What is that?" And oh, they've sinned and they have repented, and they wear this outfit all day long. Okay, strange. This is a look from our hotel up through Quito. The church of San Francisco looks like this, which was to me unbelievable. Gorgeous place. Yes. You could, and I brought a wide angle, a 24 to 105, and a 100 to 500. The bigger lenses I did not take because I was told, and you'll see when we get to the Galapagos, getting on and off the boat when it's a wet landing and I can just see, and there went your lens. And so I was very freaked out about that. In Quito itself, they have these open markets, and they have fruits and things that I've never seen before. And we went there in the open market, and they were letting us taste things, and they're strange fruits. They're very proud of this setting, but there are things that I had never seen before, and I don't have a clue. And if you look closely, you'll see in the upper right corner the pig's head in the open market. A little strange, but yeah, different. Yes, ma'am.
In region several times.
Yes. No, no. It's the first time I've been to the Galapagos, but not to Ecuador. I've been 3 times, 4 times. The roses that you see there are everywhere. And we went to a place that grows roses, and I'll show you some of the uniqueness of what you're going to see there. But these are just roses, and they're everywhere. And because they grow so many, they are commonplace. Hacienda de la Campana, 100 varieties, 15,000 roses per day are harvested. The roses grow straight up because it's the sun, obviously, because you're on the equator. The sun, like here, will do that. There, it's always straight up. And so the roses themselves grow straight up. And the varieties that they have, all these 100 varieties, are, they don't smell. And if you smell roses here from Costco or wherever you buy your roses, they don't smell, or they smell very little. And I asked the guy, I said, you're the owner of this place. Why don't you grow some? He said, no. We don't grow them with smell because the smell will get cross-pollinated, and we don't want that. We want pure variety of this, pure variety of that. And so you'll see how they do this. But there are roses everywhere. This is the place we had lunch, which used to be the owner's house. And there are roses everywhere. This is in the processing place. They've got all these people processing roses. And I asked, okay, where are those roses going to? He said, all those are going to Costco. You're going to ship out 15,000 roses today to Costco? Yes. Is each one of these places different? He said, oh, yeah. If you ship roses to Saudi Arabia, they want a long stem with no thorns and no leaves. If you want to go to the United States, y'all take the ones that are shorter. And he went through this whole sequence about how each country has a different set of rules about their roses. But they process a ton of these things, and there are people coming and going like crazy, and there are roses everywhere like that. And that. And that. And that. And all of these were in sight in one place. Yes. No, some of them are, some of them like 18 per pack, and some of them like 12 per pack, but that's more than 12. But it was a fascinating place. And when you ride around the surrounding area in Quito, you see these white tents on the mountainside. All of those are roses, rose factories, if you will. But they don't smell. You stop and smell the rose. It doesn't smell. And the roses in Costco don't smell, and the roses in lots of places don't smell. We went to Botanical Garden where the rose bushes were growing, smell. But the ones for commercial reasons, and I said, well, why is it like this? He said, well, at least the ones coming from Ecuador, 4 to 5 million roses are essentially odorless because people want the shape, they want the preservation of the rose to go longer, and they want a long stem. He said, if you want smell or whatever, you have to go somewhere else. But as the second largest or third largest producer of roses, there is no smell, which was very disappointing to me. Well, you have to remember that in Ecuador, it's on the equator, so the summer and the winter are the same. There is no difference. There is some difference in rainfall, but generally speaking, the weather is the same all year long. And in Quito, it's the same. The high is 75, the low is 65, and that's it. And it doesn't change. Summer, winter, just doesn't change. It's interesting. So we went to a waterfall, and the waterfall was gorgeous. Lots of spray. We went to this place, which was a volcano filled with water, and went to the cloud forest. This place in the cloud forest, what are we going here for? Oh, yeah, we're going for birds. And let's see if I can get this to work. Hummingbirds pouring down rain. So in the cloud forest, it's raining. And I mean, it is raining like crazy. And we're in this little shed and we're taking pictures, but it is raining. And so in some of the photographs, you'll see raindrops, and others, I don't know how I got rid of them, but there are hummingbirds everywhere. And you can see the raindrops on the background there. Yes.
As far as
I don't think so. Because again, in this climate, it doesn't change and it's the same all year. No. And they put all those feeders out and the birds are everywhere and there are hundreds of them and strange looking creature like this thing, whatever this is. Well, these were shot at high ISO, like really high, so it had to have some noise reduction stuff. And because the hummingbirds are so fast, and because it's pouring down rain, and because the jungle is dark, it was a real challenge. And I came away with some that I thought were okay, but I thought it was amazing they got anything because some of these are at 24,000 ISO. I mean, really high. But I was shooting at 500 to 1,000th of a second. And in the morning, the guy says, "Now, do y'all want to see the cock of the rock?" I said, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." He said, "The cock of the rock is a bird that is very challenging to get a picture of, and they'll be flying here and there, and this is the hike to go to this little shed to see the cock of the rock at 4 o'clock in the morning." Okay. And it's rainy and it's a cloud forest, and this is as good a picture as I can get of this strange bird. And even internet wise, I there are not many pictures of this weird bird. And I was overjoyed to get this strange picture. In Mendo is another place in the mountains. We went to a butterfly place, and I think I'm hopeful that Ginter will be competitive with this. I don't know what these are, but I thought they were pretty. the blue-footed boobies. We're back to the Galapagos. And so we've been in Quito a few days. We've gone to the cloud forest for a few days. We've taken pictures. And now we get on an airplane. We fly to the Galapagos. And there are lots of rules about how much stuff you can take. And there are lots of rules in the Galapagos themselves. They don't allow throwaway plastic bags. Only 4% of the Galapagos Island is inhabited, and they don't allow any new anything. So if you've got a little farm, which many people had a farm, and you have a fence around it, and your dog gets out, on Tuesdays, they go hunting for any animal that is not native. So if you brought your dog and if he got out, he's going to be shot by the locals. And that applies to anything that's not native, like a pig. They'll shoot the pig. They'll shoot your dog. They'll shoot your cow. Anything that is not native to the island, they're very protective of. And they're very, you'll see. Here's their guide level. And they have how many guides there are. Level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Our guides were both level 3 with the university educated. I'm looking at my guide, and the guide is just standing there looking out at the water. What are you doing? I don't know what you're doing. He said, I'm counting boats. Why? He said, because every place that the boats stop, there are only 100 people allowed. Well, how do you know about? He said, I know each boat and I know how many people they carry. So I'm counting to see if, I said, would you report them? Absolutely. So when you do your Galapagos stops, you know how many people are going to stop at this place per day. Yes. Well, what if I want to change and I'm the boat captain? Well, you can put in a request. It takes 6 months to have it approved, but otherwise you're going to go where they tell you to, and no more than 100 people per stop. Okay. So let me ask you something. The guy's about 70 years old. And I said, you grew up here? Yes. Yes. And you went to school here? Well, yeah. And then I went to university. And so you spent your entire life here? Yes. Your family live here? Yes. Yes. Family still alive? He said, no, my mother died 2 years ago. I'm thinking, that looks like 70. Trying to do the math. He said, yeah, we tried actually 5 years ago to get her to get electricity in the house. 5 years ago? He said, yeah, she didn't like the idea of the wires in the wall. She thought that was not healthy. How long did she live? 110. She lived to be 110? Yes. And she spent her whole life here? Yes. So she grew all of her own food. They have trouble with water because much of the water is brackish. And because the island is largely volcano, if you drill a well, you get seawater mixed with the land water, so it's brackish, and they have to do what they have to do to not drink salt water. They have cisterns and all the rest, but this lady lived to be 110. Maybe there was something good about the way she was living. But they're very protective about their environment. I said, well, now, if you see an animal that is having difficulty, can you report it to somebody? Can you do away with it? What? Said, well, if it were to get tangled in something man-made, like a fishing net, then we could free the animal. But if the animal broke its leg on its own, we don't interfere with nature. They're very protective about not interfering with the Darwin struggle, survival of the fittest kind of thing. They're very protective about that. This is a picture. Actually, the lady on the right is the guide that I went to the Azores with, and the lady on the left that you see is essentially covered up is one of our guides. They're very, I guess you call those gators. They have these arm things and they cover their face because it's at the equator and they don't get skin cancer, and she covers herself up almost all day, which was fascinating. And long sleeves and all the rest, but just surprising. I like to geotag where I took some of the pictures. So these are a couple of the islands that we went to and the geotags of things where I took pictures. The group, as I said, was not photographically committed. The people that were with the lady that we went with were, but the other people that were from Venice were mainly sightseers, and they took pictures with their phones. Okay, fine. But they were more on a social trip. The trip wasn't photographically emphasized. And the people that were on I'll call it the social side, they were all into snorkeling. It's freezing cold in the water. And you want to go snorkeling? Oh, we have wetsuits. Okay. So I get my little wetsuit on and I got my snorkel stuff. I'm dying. I'm freezing to death. And everybody else, you brought your own wetsuit? Yeah, people had their own wetsuit. They're all getting, yeah. And so they weren't complaining at all. Oh, the water was wonderful. It was clear. It was this. I'm dying. And especially on as you see, the western side of this big island, it was to me, it was cold, even with the wetsuit on. So anyway, we fly over to Santa Cruz and we land and we get off the plane, and here's an iguana, and they're everywhere. And this is a land iguana. It's colorful. It's unique. In Santa Cruz, they're blue-footed boobies. They have blue beaks and blue feet. And they have blue eyes. Frigate birds are the ones we did not get a picture of, but they blow up their neck in this red thing, and I didn't get pictures of those, but they're those animals as well. In this photograph, it's the two most famous things for Santa Cruz: the blue-footed booby and Sally Lightfoot is the name of the crab. And they're beautiful. And they're everywhere. The frigate birds, mating sea turtles. The guy looks like he's struggling. He's not having a great time. But big animals. And Isabella, now, as you saw on one of the earlier slides, marine iguanas are unique to some of the islands. And there are no marine iguanas anywhere else in the world except here. The marine iguanas are ugly creatures. They spit salt because they eat lichen and algae and plant material from the ocean, and they have to excrete the salt somehow, so they sneeze or spit it. And in some of these pictures, you will see their face is white because of the salt. And they have some special gland that allows them to spit out the salt. But it's strange. A land iguana, they're a little bigger, they're a little more colorful, and they're everywhere also. But you can see these prehistoric looking, and they got the white where they've spit or sneezed out their salt. Yes.
Scale, I'm trying to scale how large they are.
And they're everywhere. Yes. Yes. Big bird. But the marine iguana are absolutely everywhere. And the guide, you can't go to these islands at all without a guide. And you're not supposed to get within 50 feet of them. But you can't, I mean, they're everywhere. And there are hundreds of them, as you can see. And you don't really, yeah, they're, because of the gray color and the gray stone, you don't, oh my God, there are hundreds of them. Yes, they don't care. And they don't care about the other birds. But and when I say they're everywhere, I mean they're everywhere. And again, the guide is very protective of, don't get off the path, don't disturb the animal, don't, they're very protective of the creatures. No, no. They, I guess if you had a farm and one showed up, but I generally, because only 4% of the island is inhabited, and they can go out, obviously, leave their farm and go do whatever they need to do, but all of these are protected species. See what I mean? And this is not a long shot. This is right, they're right there. And here's what I was talking about with the white. It looks like some creature from the Black Lagoon or something. But they're regal in a way, but they do sneeze or spit the salt. And the Sally Lightfoots are everywhere. They do have snakes. They're non-poisonous. They're small. And on each island, the animals are pretty unique to that island because the animals can't swim to the next island. And so they're very protective about making sure that when you get off of one island and go to the next one, you're supposed to bathe your feet. You can't take any animal. You can't take any water. You can't. They very much want the island to remain a unique place. But there are lots of different animals, penguins, oyster catcher bird with its blue egg. But you can see that the boat in the distance is the yacht, if you want to call it that. And you can see there's several more out there. And this is um, how you get from your boat to the shore. They have wet landings, which means that you have to get off the boat and hit the water knee deep or so. And so you've got your camera and you're freaking out because you just think, oh, a little salt water and that'll spoil this. And so you put your stuff in a bag, a water bag, and you get off and go on your hike. And then they have dry landings as well. But this is obviously going to be a wet landing, and you've got your stuff wrapped up. Again, because you cannot take disposable bags, anything, a single-use bag, they call it, are illegal. So if you're going to take a bag, go purchase one at somewhere, roll it up, use it again, because single-use bags are not prohibited, are not allowed. This guy, I did take an underwater camera, cheap as it was, and Patricia wanted me to take hers, and I was afraid to. But I get in my outfit, I got my wetsuit on, I'm freezing to death, the water's sloshing me up against the lava flow over here. I'm freaking out, and I get the camera, and this penguin comes up and is doing this. Well, the camera won't focus because the thing is right here, and the thing keeps doing this. So he swims away, but neat experience. And this guy was right in front of me, and oh my God, it scared me to death. These are everywhere, and they're friendly and they will get on your boat. This is the back, I don't know what you call landing, I guess it is. And we stop, and here come all these seals, and they just lie down on your deck. And they came up onto the next level, went up the stairs, came to the next level, and I asked our guide, what are we going to do with it? You can't touch them. You can't shoo them away. You can't. I said, okay, how do we? Okay, I got it. And different experience. But you're not allowed to interact with them. They can sort of interact with you, but you're not allowed to shoo them away. And the classic big tortoises, the mud pit, these are those giant tortoises like we have in our zoo here. And they're huge and they're old, and that's the classic. But all the other animals I thought were at least as interesting, maybe more. That's our trip. 16 days for us. 10 on the structured trip, but again, we had 3 before and 3 after because we wanted to go see Johanna's brother. But again, I would say if you want to go to the Galapagos, great experience, but be careful about which island you go and have it in your mind. Is this a snorkeling cruise? Because we went snorkeling 4 days in a row. And I really wasn't geared for that. I mean, in my mind, I hadn't paid attention to the agenda. And this was a big snorkeling thing for a lot of the folks. I'm thinking I'm going to be, while they're snorkeling, I'm going to be, well, not so much. And when Venkat went on a different trip, he said that his was focused on photography. This was focused on, and it was a great trip in a way. Quito, the cloud forest, the, variations. It was wonderful. And I would go again, different island, different experience, but it's a very different kind of place. And Quito is very different because of its altitude. And at 10,000 feet, you know, there are a lot of places at 10,000, but if you have a drink at 10,000, it's like having 3 or 4. My wife got altitude sickness in spite of us giving, I wrote a prescription for the Diamox and it was helpful, but she had to call the front desk and they, okay, bring you some oxygen for the night and helped tremendously. So, and they were very used to it. My brother went one time, got altitude sickness, and got hospitalized. One of the things about altitude sickness is your body diverts flow from your intestines and sometimes your brain, but your intestines, and makes you nauseated. So it takes flow from here and sends it to your heart and lungs. So he got very nauseated and got an ileus, which means your intestines aren't working, blown up, belly big, pushes on your lungs and makes your breathing. Got hospitalized for 3 days in Ecuador.
Challenges or things any lenses you wish you brought, or how all that worked out?
You don't need as much reach as you think. And, if you go on a safari, I would say the same thing. Often you don't need as much reach as you think. Certainly, there are going to be things off in the distance that you wish you had the biggest lens in North America, but most of the time, most things are within reach. Now, again, when the people were snorkeling and I said I wanted to go take some pictures, okay, so we got in one of these little dinghies. Okay, see that? Yeah, really challenging to be on the water, bobbing like a cork and taking, set a fast shutter speed, all of that. But I would not have wanted my 2 to 800. It was not needed. Too big, too heavy, too awkward, too much stuff. Because in the Galapagos, what you realize is if you've got to put that in a water bag, a waterproof bag, and then you got to take it out, and then you're getting ready to go on the dinghy again and put it back, you suddenly, I think I can do without that one today, and so you become a minimalist. And they're big on minimalist stuff because they don't want to spoil the island. They don't, all of the eco-friendly stuff is prominent with them.
The tourism business to the Galapagos.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. It's
100%.
their whole life. Yeah, and but they're not going to grow roses there. Water is a big deal because of the if you drill a well, you get the brackish, and the saving of water. They're big into that.
Great shots and a fun trip. We did a similar trip, and I would put it top 2 or 3 in terms of critters. If you like to photograph critters, it's a place to go. We took everybody took a wetsuit in our group, in addition to their wetsuit. So we had 2 on. And if you get underwater, you can, large and an extra large or whatever to make it fit. But if you get underwater, you'll see penguins, darting about, seals, seal cubs kind of swimming between your legs and stuff like that. The marine iguanas diving. So the underwater piece is pretty good too, if you can tolerate the cold.
But you found it cold as well?
It was cold. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
on the equator, but it's,
Well, I didn't have 2 wetsuits, but yeah. I thought, you know, I've been snorkeling in Hawaii and I've been snorkeling in the Caribbean. This was challenging because the waves washing back and forth, and you've got the lava flow stuff over here with its sharp points, and you're just sort of freaky about getting washed up next to that. That was challenging. There were a couple people who had GoPro cameras on, and they got decent videos of all the things you said. I just wasn't geared for that, and it was like I said, if I had to reprogram the thing, I would say, okay, that's fine. I just wish that I knew beforehand that that was going to be as prominent as it was.
Relationship to all the rules, are there any tour operators that have an advantage because of their grandfather in on certain things or rules or?
I don't think so. I had the sense that rule is the rule. And I don't care who you are, that's the rule. I mean, I had the very, it was emphasized over and over and over again. And like I said, when the guy's counting the number of ships, and he said, I know that one holds 42 people and this one holds 36. And, you know, I said, you'd report, absolutely, I'd report them. And there was no hesitation there at all. There was our yacht was, you know, held 30 people. And yet there was a yacht about the same size that looked like it held 10. Whole different look, modern, extremely high end. And I said to the guy, what are those people? He said, I can tell you right now, those people are going to take a 1 hour hike, and then they'll be back on the boat drinking wine at noon. I said, they don't, he said, no, I know that, Captain. They go, and it's all about the food and the wine and the experience. He said, the Galapagos is sort of a way down the list on their itinerary. And I said, well, how much do you think? He said, oh, I know the guy. It's $20,000 a week for that boat per person. And we didn't pay $20,000 a week for ours, but different experience. But it was fun. It was neat. It was different. It was unique. And you saw how much emphasis was placed on the preservation of the place in its natural form.
Costa Rica is kind of like the pleasant experience of Galapagos. They don't have the rules, they don't have this, but they've got pretty much.
I've been to Costa Rica, and yes, it's lots of animals, different animals, but they don't quite have the same priority about the animals.
What your day looked like, what time you started it.
There is, I think, one hotel on the Galapagos, and it is supposed to be pretty nice. In the cloud forest, it was nice. It was a bee. The food was very nice. It wasn't opulent surroundings in any of the places we were. In Quito, however, Quito is a big town, and there's a funny story about Quito. We went to Quito, and we were there for this on a previous visit. We were there, and we got a lot of dirty clothes, and so I asked Steve, would you mind if your housekeeper washed a few things for us so we could have some cleaner clothes for the end of the week? Oh yeah, no problem. So we were out all day. We come back, and my underwear is all stacked up and ironed. It's all put in a little. Okay. So I said, Steve, we'd like to pay your housekeeper a little something extra for her. You will not? She's here all day. She gets $5 a day. She's very happy to get it. And you're not going to mess up that with throwing some money at her. The world is different there. That
Flew out there and got on the yachts. Got on the yacht?
no. We flew to Quito, tours around Quito, tours around the cloud forest, and then got on the yacht. Yes.
They on the yacht.
Yeah, stayed on the yacht for 5 nights. And then back to the airport, back to Quito, back to the States. But an interesting trip, and they use US dollars. So they don't have a currency of their own, it's US dollars. But a lunch, Johanna in Quito had some lobster meal, and it was, I think, $12. A regular salad with, might be $4. Very, very inexpensive. Yes, huge expat community. The reason my brother-in-law moved there was because he was the chief architect for Gulf Oil. And in 2008, when the market crashed, all of his retirement was in bank stocks, which went to the toilet. So he had a reasonable amount of money before, but almost nothing afterwards. So in 2008, they moved to Quito, where he could buy a house, a thing sort of like on Fifth Avenue in New York, for $200,000 that was 3 floors, about 5,000 square feet. Different scale. Yes. You're flying out of 10,000 feet. It's different. Yes. But Quito's an interesting city, big city, lots of poverty. But the expatriate, there's the town where the I Love Boobies. They make hats and leather goods and so forth. And you can buy things like there were a lot of people that we saw buying saddles, horse saddles, and they were very inexpensive. I know that saddle that I watched the guy buy in this country would be $5,000 at least, and it was, hundreds, not thousands. Great, thank you.
This is, we're so.
But
I think, I'm sorry. Sorry. I wonder, again, that's totally the minus this.
One time.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you've had every weekend.
Yes, yeah. And especially, you know. Yes, I didn't get wrong. So most of things.
Okay, yeah, just. Yeah. And.
We're good, that was camping.
And we.
Oh, it was great, I've got a couple of show up.
I never saw.
Wildlife. All right, yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, looking for it.
I said, so.
It's like.
For you. Said, so. Everything you should dig down and out in your place. Right. I said, are you a big producer? He said, no. So if you know, and it's so, but you can see all the different colors. Like I said, these are going to Costco, these are going to Walmart.
No, it doesn't. You don't regret it. You just have to. There's a question.
It's all right.
So you always. And priceless. And it's.
And yet, this.
Oh, it's kind of, that's good, you know. I know that, I know. It's incredible.
Yes.
You know how to.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It's time to take her.
I like saying. I'm gonna get three, a bird and three, all the same stick. What's there?
Yeah, you are.
So I guess it's a lot.
Hey, I'm stop. You know, I'm trying to.
It's not just. The gold.
So it's fun. It's very. I mean, I'm like, it's not a coach.
There was.
Like.
And it's polo over interesting. She came out and she was in the camera. I went out doing much of the shot. Oh, yeah. Early when they said, at the end there was
She'll to the Richmond.
It's the Navy.
It's totally.
Also, there's one in the car with us. And he puts that money. Back
yeah. Did you go?
I'm gonna come back and.
That's what I thought about. I'm not even sure that I was thinking for you. I said the other one. Look, I'll see. Yes, we are pretty rough. Oh, yeah. Get something like it. There you go. I wanted the benefits. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Start building another office. Big Thursday. Sure. Next trip.
Watkins Glen, I was 2 weeks. Watkins Glen, yeah, up for the Chelsea sports car race. Race they have like.
So where's Tom? Is he off on another, club, another gig? I'm like looking at those roses. He's not here and,
Yeah, I know. That's. It's something.
Oh, I'm sure he's, yeah.
He knew last month, but he.
Yeah. I think he's still looking for some help on the newsletter. I'll reach out to him. Right now I have the confidence to do it if I run out. But I'll reach out to him because I think he's still looking for somebody.
Yeah.
And you're taking place of MJ here.
Well.
So you've
I
got
shoot
to
the-
record it.
Yeah, and I do the, I'm trying to get. the-
Yeah. Well, that's good though. That's direction.
Yeah, and I've got all the receipts that we've stood up, done, they're all in my, camera.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, we're supposed to do that. Have to wait for. This was my last one. Election will be, it might be probably November.
August, I think. Maybe one.
Mine's going to. Just got his wife a new iPhone 17 Pro. It's digital knockout, you know, the little cameras, you know.
Yeah, I've got it.
That's amazing what my whole.
Yeah, I've got a 16. That's pretty big. Trips that I didn't necessarily think it carry all the time. Plus, I was, we are in a space that are halfway through. My battery died on the camera, and I got the hearing spare, but then I was shooting some photos. Oh, some of the photos that I shared with wildlife. Hard in the camera film. I had to go back to the camera.
Yeah, it's the right. Hey, it's been a lot of people. Different pictures, but. The experience of rain, you know, that was. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. No, there was very, very. Certainly, different from you.
So.
No, right.
I had t-shirts and shirts. I remember same class, paragraph. I don't mean, they're amazing.
Let's carry on.
So, stop even folks.
Okay.
These are my photos, probably not half as interesting as what Martin has done. About a few weeks ago, someone put out a announcement about goth costume at Pump House. I wandered down there, take some pictures, and I was amazed. There must have been 75 photographers there, and like wander around. Somebody's kind of standing around, or somebody's taking pictures of a person. You can either look over their shoulder and take a picture, or you can ask the model if you could take her picture and so forth. So I asked this lady, and this was the first time she'd ever modeled anywhere. And I found out later that she drove all the way from the other side of the mountain down here. What was the first town on the other side of Charlotte?
Winchester, Charlotte.
Stan, yes, she drove down here from Stan. She saw this, and she had never modeled or done anything before. And most of the people wore black, but she said this is the dress she only wore once. So she put it on and did pretty good. This is a headshot of her that, I edited and she uses it on her website now. So, but interesting. This was the lady that really went all out for the outfit, and you can see the headshot. The next photo is a headshot. I guess I wouldn't want to come across her in the dark alley. That scared me to death. So, it's pretty interesting. So I was in DC, and so you see this, is this a person or is this a robot, a bot, the little thing with the green hat on? His handler, you can just barely see him standing behind the lady. If you go to the next shot, And that, so is that a person, is that a little person, or is that a robot? It's not a little person, it's actually one of those robots, I guess, and, he had him out there. And I went walking by and saw all these people standing around and, took his picture. I wish I had taken a wider view so you could see all the people who were standing around. I didn't hear him talk or anything, and he didn't really move a whole lot. He just kind of stood there, but I thought that was interesting. Next. This is a picture of my wife and one of my sons in DC that I took a picture of her standing next to him. And he gets around on his unicycle in DC, so he doesn't have to worry about parking a car or whatnot. And so if you go to the next picture, this is what he looks like geared up before he gets on his unicycle. He lives in like Old Town Alexandria, and we were at the wharf. And so he gets on this thing. I think it'll go up to about 50 miles an hour. He road, sidewalks, bike lanes, and so that's one of his modes of transportation in the DC area. And it was amazing to me that with all the scooters and bikes, and a lot of people use these cycles and whatnot, that they're all over it. And, you know, we hear about people getting hit in Richmond. I'm surprised that more people don't get hit in DC with all these vehicles. This is a picture of
It's battery operated?
Yes. Yes, it is. This is a picture of the wharf, which is not far from National Park, and I guess this whole area has really exploded over the last several years. A lot of boats and yachts, to me, was pretty interesting. Next. This was a picture as the sun was going down of all the many yachts and boats.
Which one's yours?
I don't have one yet. I was looking at it, but I wouldn't have any place to keep that in Richmond. Next. This was a shot later on in the evening of the same area.
Did you use a tripod, Dave, or did you?
No, this is all handheld. Next. That was it. So there were some others.
No, this is the last one.
Oh, yes, it is. Well, I went through that pretty fast. Yeah. So those are my pictures. Who's next?
You have to have a young man's balance to ride that unicycle, I would think.
Right.
So I have a piece of property out in Lake County, I have a garden, and I have miles around there. It's a great hang of river, I did it a couple weeks ago. That's about it. It was a big May, earlier last month, and I was gonna stay in a hotel across the way from this hotel, and I looked out the window and saw that. We just got a balcony, and I saw that hotel down there, and it's kind of empty, and I have to hit me again, of the lighthouses. This is at Bruce Gator, I think it's a community, as far as I can remember. How it came out. That's community from my property in Lake County, and I got this lighting was just great. It's kind of dark background. And I went to the we also stopped at Delaware, we're birding along, here, there, kind of like that. Vision of that picture was of the spice bush, swallowtail butterfly. There's like a field in property in Bannock County. Sometimes I'll just go down on the back and butterflies, and some flowers there, and pitching them over and stuff that come down like this at home. This is a Lewis Gator, that flower. A zebra swallowtail, butterfly from Bannock County. I don't really think we can see these very often, but there's, they only reproduce by, having pawpaw trees. We have quite a few pawpaw trees on property. In fact, I want to say 15 years ago when I was first there, I saw one. I never thought I had seen them before. And I looked up and it said that it needed to have a pawpaw tree to reproduce. I was looking in the woods, and at that point I identified some of them, see them all over the place now. But they come pretty early in the spring, they're kind of gone. That's just like a little bit. Anyway. Follow there.
Question, are you taking backgrounds with you to get?
No, the background is so, usually when I'm shooting those butterflies in the garden, I'm trying to look around, heel down, or try to get far enough away so I get the field is so behind it. I'm usually wondering if I wander on that, so I can be 4 or 5 feet away, catch those pictures that way. Yeah, it's kind of.
He has this big thing that he. Like that was pretty, yeah.
I definitely trying to make it look like it's got some kind of background, so it works.
I don't know how many people are aware, but there are polo matches at King's Vineyard in Crozet every Sunday. It's free. Gates open at 10. Matches start at noon. And there are food trucks out in the area too. So worth a trip. We're hanging around with the long lenses and matches are about to start. And this girl comes out in the horse, looks at us and said, what's going on? So we decided to make her the photo shoot of this whole thing. So it's this is just a small set. We wound up sending her. It turned out she was only 16. She lived in the area. I guess it's a prep school. Father's a doctor, and this is her horse. And she's the youngest one playing in the matches. Maybe the next one. Okay, this is her coming up to find out what's going on. The first one was just a grab shot. And the rest of it is the match, and in the end, and let's go to the set. So her playing, I concentrated on her as solo and within the group. And she's the one with the light helmet in the back. There are four players in each team and a couple of referees that are going around on her. And she hit a couple goals. I didn't catch the goals, but I got quite a few shots of her playing. And she really liked the pictures too. I wound up sending her a set so she could print them out.
What lens did you use?
100 to 400. Yeah, I try to keep it more of a portrait shot. I cleaned up the background a little bit. And in the end, went to the back area and did a picture of her and her horse. Of course, she's a little beat up by now too. So.
It's a good picture though.
The horse is smiling too. Yeah, it's a free reach, so it's worth the trip. Every Sunday, weather permitting, just check their website.
This is Olympic National Park. My son lives in Seattle, so we did a little bit of a road trip with he and my wife and youngest daughter as well. So this is out on the beach there. The only thing I don't like about it is the comp trail, but actually right like well. kelp. So we went to this particular area because it had tide plus sea stacks. And so, you know, there's a lot of interesting things there. See a nice batch of bull kelp that had washed up. These are sea anemones. These are aggregating anemones, and there's a couple of different kinds. I'll show you different ones. Here are some of the sea stacks off the distance. Some people would call them sea stumps at this stage that they've worn down a bit more. And we've got a fair number of gulls that are foreground. And this was, I like this one just because the combination of why we went there with the sea stacks and the Titans foreground. Shot collections there. Beautiful area. You can get a chance to head out. This is She Park or She Beach. It's kind of a north end of this, obviously the Pacific, so pretty far out from the national park. So keep going west until you hit water. These are ochre sea stars. If you go back for a second. And they're found in the tide pools. You can see it clean there to some rock formations. Just brilliant purple, yellow are their typical colors. Kind of a rough appearance. Fun to discover out there as tide is going out. Next one. And this is the giant green anemone. The green is actually from algae that is microscopic in these anemone. So they grow maybe 8 or 10 inches in diameter, something like that. But brilliant color and fun to discover and capture by photo with a boat. Anyway, if you get a chance, we really like.
These are mine. And some of you know I was on camping last week, got back yesterday afternoon from Florida. And I was down in I was down in Melbourne, Florida, and camping in the city park. Campground there in the park. The park was 4 or 6 city blocks away, right in the middle of the town. And they had wildlife galore there, and this was that's a gopher tortoise. He's probably as old as I would imagine. And this was real close to my camp. It's a sandhill crane that was hanging around, and it walked over to the left where it was headed and had a nest there with a couple of eggs in it. This is a couple hundred feet from my camp.
What city was this?
Melbourne.
Melbourne?
And then it finally decided to sit on the nest.
And what's the colorful thing at the top?
That's a reflection of, I guess it was maybe another camper or camper maybe had a flag or something up there, but that was on the other side of that little pond. And then that's just a reflection of in the water. And that's it.
You see the rocket blow up?
Yes, actually from the camera. And I took some pictures, but I didn't go through the camera after I took those. How they turned out, but yeah, there was about 6 o'clock or 6:30 or something like that. on, I believe, what you said, Wednesday or Thursday morning. Starlink, they launched 29 satellites up in the, and they,
Blew up tunnel as a rocket, but.
oh, that was before we got there.
Oh, okay.
That was blue, one of,
Yeah,
that
that was a tower too, it destroyed it.
and there was another satellite, I mean, there was another rocket in the building that burned too.
Yes.
They all too. But, we did see one launch, that was a Starlink, a SpaceX. Launch, I could see it from the.
Yeah, they're really neat to see.
Yeah, and I was hoping to be able to see the booster come back down, but it was too far off over in the trees. And then it came down in the, out in the, ocean on a barge instead of back to the Cape.
I actually saw it when Armstrong and the boys took off to land on the moon, I saw that launch.
I did see a few years ago, I did see one space shuttle launch from Titusville. I was standing there right at the beach, and saw a space shuttle launch. But I saw one landing. Heard it, really. Okay?
That's it.
Yep.
All right, well, I think we're done for today.
Thank you.
Come on.